I'd heard whispers of a hidden town in the Swiss Alps, Bellemont. They said it was a place frozen in time, filled with wonders. But some stories hinted at darker truths. Driving into Bellemont felt like entering another world. As thick fog wrapped around my car, I could barely see a few feet ahead. The town's old sign, "Welcome to Bellemont," seemed to be dripping wet. It was a whole different experience. Buildings, pristine at first glance, seemed to murmur secrets when I drew closer. Windows, instead of offering glimpses into the lives inside, threw back distorted reflections. And the children? Earlier, they played innocently, but now they stood still, watching me with an unnerving focus. A chill crept down my spine as the sun began to set. I couldn't shake the feeling. The town wasn't just old, it felt alive and observant, waiting for night to take over. Fatigue pulled me into a restless sleep, but it wasn't long before hushed voices broke through the quiet of my room. They weren't just any whispers, they felt sinister, as if sneaking through the very walls. Heart pounding, I woke up, trying to separate dream from reality. Drawn by the unsettling murmurs, I found myself outside in the town square. There, under the cold moonlight, stood a gleaming obsidian altar. The townsfolk, who seemed ordinary by day, now moved around it in a trance-like dance. Their eyes? Empty. Void of emotion. And right there, dominating the scene, was a hooded figure, marked only by the cold glint of a knife. I hid, feeling an icy dread clutching at my heart, as I realized that the nightmare of Bellemont was very, very real. Even from my hiding spot, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the altar. It wasn't just a cold piece of rock, it pulsed as if alive, breathing with a dark rhythm. From its base, smoky tendrils snaked out, winding around the feet of the dancing townsfolk, guiding their frenzied movements. And then there were the symbols on the altar. They began to glow, emitting a sickly green light that bathed the entire square. Those symbols felt older than time, and just glancing at them sent shivers down my spine. But what truly horrified me was the ground around the altar. It wasn't just old stone, it shimmered with a deep, blood-red hue, a testament to countless dark rites from the past. As the hooded figure's chant grew louder, more guttural, I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, hoping against hope that I wouldn't be the next to join the history of that cursed square. Desperation propelled me back towards my car, but the engine just groaned, refusing to start. Panic rising, I began to sprint through the fog-enshrouded streets. But I wasn't alone. The children, who once played innocently, were now transformed. Their fingers had stretched into long, claw-like appendages that scraped the cobblestone with every step. Their laughter had turned to a bloodthirsty chorus, echoing through the mist. Every echoing footstep, every shadow, intensified the terror, as I ran, praying they wouldn't catch up. The streets led me to a dark opening. The entrance to the town's catacombs. With the echoing laughter of the children behind me, I plunged into its depths. These weren't just corridors, they felt like the very veins of Bellemont, pulsing with whispered secrets. The walls were moist, occasionally giving way to skeletal hands that reached out hungrily. I could feel their cold, bony fingers grazing my skin, trying to pull me into their eternal embrace. Every step was filled with dread, as the weight of countless lost souls bore down on me. The further I ventured, the more the catacombs seemed to come alive. It wasn't just the chilling whispers, the walls appeared to bleed, dripping viscously in the dim light. Soon, I found myself in a vast chamber, its center dominated by a grotesque sight, a massive pillar constructed of impaled, twitching human bodies. Their agonized movements were like a hellish dance, a macabre performance for an audience of one. But it was the entity above that froze me in place. A monstrous creature, its wings crafted from the skins of countless victims, stretched wide in a display of dominance. Its body was a shifting mass of tormented faces, each one a story of despair. Those molten eyes, burning with an ancient hatred, locked onto mine. As I tried to retreat, the chamber seemed to react. The walls birthed long, skeletal hands, each one reaching, grabbing, and tearing at my clothes and skin. The creature's roar, filled with malevolence and anticipation, echoed around me. I was trapped, with the very essence of the catacombs eager to claim another victim. Every instinct screamed at me to escape. The chamber's skeletal hands clawed and tore, but terror-fueled adrenaline gave me the strength to break free. The path ahead was treacherous. Blood and remains made the ground slippery, threatening to trip me with every step. Behind me, the creature's furious roars resonated, each one echoing the promise of impending doom. Its massive wings beat thunderously, stirring gusts that carried the stench of decay. The catacombs' walls seemed to shift, trying to confine and trap me. But amid the chaos, a distant speck of light beckoned, the exit. As I approached the glimmer of hope, the very ground beneath me seemed to pulse, as if the catacombs itself were making one final attempt to drag me into its bowels. With a last surge of energy, I emerged into the open air, the nightmarish grip of the creature just missing me. I didn't stop, not until the haunting presence of Bellemont was nothing but a distant silhouette. Catching my breath, the terror of Bellemont felt miles away. But a creeping dread remained, urging me to look back. And when I did, my heart stopped. Right at the catacombs entrance lay a body, unmistakably mine. Every detail, every scratch, and every wound I had sustained in my frantic escape was mirrored on it. A paralyzing realization washed over me. My physical self was trapped in that hellish abyss, while something, a shadow, a spirit, or perhaps my very essence, had managed to flee. I was caught between realms, bound to the horrors of Bellemont. As I grappled with this truth, the world around me began to blur and fade. I felt myself dissipating, becoming a whisper among the countless others that haunted the town. And as my consciousness waned, I noticed a new traveler, drawn by Bellemont's allure. My ethereal voice joined the chorus of warnings, but also of beckoning, as the town prepared to ensnare another soul, and the cycle of terror ready to begin once more.
Survive the tale and crave more. Your bravery deserves applause. Dare to dive deeper. Haunt that like, share, and subscribe. Whispers in the dark or screams aloud. Share your thoughts. Your voice guides our next ghostly tale.